Hi guys, my name is Nicolette Mashile. I am also known as the Financial Bunny. Welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. Today I'm carrying on with a conversation I started a couple of weeks ago about making new habits or starting new habits or really pouring a lot of time and effort into things that I'm really good at. Some of them are habit forming. So one of those things that I had decided was to start reading the book by James Clear, and it's called Atomic Habits. So I was reading it on my Kindle, and I thought, you know what? Actually, I need the physical book. I need the real book. I want to be able to make notes because that's the type of reader that I am. So anyway, none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, please do speak to somebody that is certified and registered with the FSCA. So one of the things we spoke about in the last video was the fact that when you have goals and the goals don't have systems, and those systems do not then dictate to the types of habits you need to have, you are just a big dreamer. Vusi was a big dreamer. You know, all of us can dream about having these amazing goals. And I was speaking about the fact that I had this goal at some point in my life, I think at age 27, where I wanted to have 10 properties at the age of 30. But it was such a big dream and that's where it ended. It was just a dream because I never put in the systems in place to be able to actually get to this. And one of the other things that James Clear speaks about in Atomic Habits is the fact that sometimes just having the goal can also be limiting in actual fact. Because if you have a defined goal, but you don't have the systems to be able to get it, the time that may come, so at age 30, I may be demotivated and feel like a failure because this one specific goal I never did, right? And I never achieved. But more than just being demotivated on achieving it, it is not a lifestyle change. So essentially, I would work my way to getting these 10 properties, and then once the goal has been achieved, I would stop. So he speaks about being very clear about what it is that you want to achieve. So you don't want to own 10 properties. You want to be a property investor. You don't want to run the next marathon. You want to be a runner or a fitness person, right? Or fit enough to be able to run. Because if you're fit enough to be able to run, then you're fit enough to do everything else in your life. You don't necessarily want to cook or bake a cake. You want to be a baker. So be a little bit more broader in terms of some of the goals that you have so that the systems that you build in within are going to be able to help you achieve this goal. But the goal mustn't be too predetermined, right? So yes, you can say, I want to be a property investor. By the age of 30, I would have liked to have 10 properties. And these are the systems I'm putting in place for me to be able to reach this goal that I've put in. But ultimately, the goal lives on, or the vision will live on forever. So I'm going to be a property investor. And I'm going to add more properties. So the 10 is not where I'm limiting myself. The 10 is simply for me to start off with, to have a clear and clarity in terms of what it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4. That is a decision that you make holistically. So these are some of the things that he speaks about. But then he also goes into how do you actually do this? And he has this science that he talks about having cues and having cravings and all sorts of things. But the one thing that really stuck out for me as I was reading the book and listening to summaries, because I love listening to summaries of books. It's so funny because I will listen to the summary of the book before I actually read the book. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but that's what I do. So one thing he speaks about is dopamine levels, and he talks about the importance of dopamine levels. And he says, you know, your dopamine levels can get spiked up when you on social media. For instance, how many of us sit on TikTok? You literally, somebody sends you a link to one TikTok, or you see it on someone's status, you go look for that person's TikTok handle that you saw on the video, and then boom, You know, it's now 5 hours later of you sitting on TikTok. You started off on TikTok because maybe there was load shedding. You were on the 6 to 8 o'clock slot, and then you lift your head up and it's now midnight or 2 a.m. because you're sitting on TikTok. And those are the dopamine levels that are getting spiked because you are on, of course, social media, right? Drugs, alcohol, they increase your dopamine. Being in love increases your dopamine. But the other thing that really increases your dopamine is when you get results. When you achieve certain things that you set yourself out to achieve. But of course, we can't say we're only going to get dopamine once a year when we achieve our goals. We can, however, say we want to achieve some dopamine every single time we trash or thrash. What's the word? Not trash. Every time we smash a habit, for instance. So one of my biggest habits every single day now is to read at least 10 pages, right, of a book. So every morning when I wake up and I'm able to read 10 pages, I have smashed my habit for that specific day and I feel good. It's easy for me to do other things because I've smashed that habit. So it's important to make sure that you make your habits also attractive. So for me, it's a huge milestone to be able to read. So it's reading this, and while I'm reading this, the other thing that is important to me is fitness. I told you guys, I want to look good when I'm naked, right? So one of the biggest things that I realized is that I had to find the thing that works for me, the habit that works for me. So my coach gave me this diet that I'm supposed to follow. And let me tell you, I am struggling to follow that diet. However, I've always said no to gym. I don't like the gym. But somehow I am able to wake up every single morning and actually skip. How amazing is that? But let me tell you how I got it right. I made it attractive for myself because I put up a picture of myself as my screen grab or my screen saver of how I looked when I used to look good when I was naked. So I'm making the goal attractive. So I know exactly what I want, right? I want to look good naked. But that also means that because I have an autoimmune disease, I've also got peripheral neuropathy. When I exercise, I actually feel good. My pains go away. So there's a lot of attraction and dopamine that comes from this habit that I have now adopted, right? And it's the same thing that I always feel is like it's how you would make financial decisions also attractive. But I'll get into that. So let me finish off the examples that I want to use, right? So the anticipation of knowing I'm not going to be in pain after I eat a certain food because of the exercise that I did is fantastic. It's like when you know you're going on a trip. Sometimes the planning of the trip, sometimes the night before the trip is even better than you arriving at the actual final destination. So anticipation of greatness, anticipation of pleasure also spikes up your dopamine. And it's actually fantastic because it makes you feel good. So you do it because you know you're going to feel good. But the other thing I realized is what I've done is what he calls temptation bundling. So what is temptation bundling? Basically, it's taking one thing that you know you are already going to do and packaging it with something that is a new habit. So every morning, like I've done probably for the last 5 years since I started Financial Fitness Bunnies, is I watch a YouTube video about finance every single morning. So because I'm already watching the YouTube video, I have to be attentive to the screen. The TV is in my room, I gotta be attentive to the screen. So what I do is, in front of the TV, I put my skipping rope. So when I wake up, first thing I lift up is my phone. I look at my phone and I'm like, ooh, I'm going to look sexy. Then I remember that actually, I'm not going to have pain. If I exercise, I can actually eat whatever I want during the day. You see how I'm failing at the diet? But because the anticipation of being able to do that puts me out of bed. But right as I jump out of bed, there's so many things that can happen that can distract me. But I'm not distracted because the skipping rope is right in front of the TV that I need to put on to be able to watch my YouTube video on finance. So while I'm watching my YouTube video, this is me. This is me skipping. I'm skipping away. And by the time the YouTube video is over, I've realized that I've skipped 500, 600, 700, 800 skips. And that for me is important. Very, very important. And that is why also, before this I actually put an alarm. So when I wake up, my alarm goes off, and then the next alarm that goes off, it's actually a reminder to go into Kindle. So I'm automating my life. I'm automating my life so it becomes easy. So what I've also done is I've removed some of the social media platforms off my cell phone. So if I want to go to Twitter, I have to literally go in www.twitter.com for me to be able to access Twitter. The last thing that I believe in to make my habits very attractive to myself is what is called group influence. So I've got this doctor friend of mine. Her name is Dr. Muketwa, and she is the queen of fitness. She is absolutely the queen of fitness, right? So every morning, another thing that I do is I go on to Muketwa's statuses. And I'm telling you, by 5 o'clock, she's up. She's already smashed her goals. She's posted that thing where it says runners, and she smashed 100,000 kilometers in a month. And I'm like, yo, she skipped. She's gone to the gym. She's done all sorts of things. So what I do is a lot of people on my social media, on my WhatsApp status that do not, if you're not contributing to my new habits, I'm muting you. So I've muted a couple of people. But the ones who do fitness, Dr. Maketwa being the champion of it, they're not muted. So when I go through WhatsApp statuses, that's the first person that I see. Group influence. I'm now positioning myself to be in spaces with people who have a like-mindedness. When it comes to reading, I'm putting myself in spaces and speaking to people that I know read so that we can have conversation. Because generally, if you are around a group of people that read, the first question they're going to ask you is, what are you reading now? You know? So for you to be able to answer that, you got to be reading something. You get what I'm saying? So that's essentially how I am working this around. And I'm now taking this and I'm putting it and I'm applying it to my finances. And I'm saying I have a couple of financial habits that I need to establish so that I can actually create, or that I need to establish. So I've got financial habits I need to establish that can feed into the system that I am building so that I can smash my goals. I need to smash my goals. I know what my goals are. I want to be a property investor. I want to be a real property investor now. I want to be serious about becoming a property investor. I want financial freedom, and I want to start a successful business. All of those three goals need me to have the right systems. So what are some of the systems that I need? As I said, I need to make sure that I have disposable income so that I can actually feed into this, so that So what do I need to smash those goals? I need to make sure I'm building the right systems. But those systems are going to require habits. Now, what are some of those habits? Those habits are, one, I have to read up on how to make money. So now, instead of just reading books like Atomic Habits, Start With Your Why, I'm also reading finance books. I've always watched financial YouTube channels. So now while I'm exercising, I'm watching my YouTube channel or my YouTube video, which is a finance video. But I need to make extra money. So I need to work. I need those habits of how do I make extra money? I have to wake up earlier. I have to be motivated. I have to be happy. If I want to have group influence, I have to hang around. I have to follow the right people on social media. I have to listen to the right people. If I want to build, for instance, a dividend strategy, I have to go to somebody like Esma Kubo, who is already doing a dividend strategy. It is successful, and I need to go copy. So the other day, she posted the 3 ETFs that are really great at paying dividends. So you guess what your girl did? I screen munched it, I kept it, I went to Easy Equities. I looked for those ETFs, I put in simple, small amounts of money. And then I need to find money now to put into those ETFs. And just the other day, I gave you guys a video of how now, because I'm using my check card, and because FNB has got this thing where it rounds off my money to the nearest 10 or nearest 100, I can't remember, and it banks it for me, all of that money gets now used to be able to fuel this dividend strategy. Do you get it? Now, for the first time, I've separated accounts of where I get my rental payments, because in the past, my rental payments all went to financial fitness bunnies. But because it falls into this big pit of money, I was not able to identify when my tenants have paid rent and when they have not paid rent, because it just seems like a big amount of money in my bank account mixed with social media stuff, mixed with book money. So it was just a big pit of an account where all money was. I was like SARS. I was just collecting. Now I'm separating it. So I've created now a specified account for my rental. And I am doing what I should have done from the beginning. I should have allowed my properties to buy my next property. But because I didn't have clear systems of where that money was going, my habits were to spend the money. Now I'm changing those habits. I'm changing those habits. And I'm making sure that those habits that I used to have, where I would just spend money, I'm making it more attractive for myself to be able to see. I've isolated the account. So the dopamine, the anticipation of my money growing every single month in that specific account that is for the rental, it's making it attractive for me to keep going and not spend that money. So it's about really thinking it for yourself and asking yourself, how do I make this work? I'm not just changing habits for the sake of changing habits. I'm changing habits so that they speak to the systems that I've built so that I can achieve the goals that I want to achieve. Think about this. James Clear makes a very, very interesting example. Because the thing is, many of us think we need to do some drastic things to be able to change the course of our lives. But the future is what you created. Your financial future is what you created. And it does not need you to make dramatic changes. It needs you to stop spending on certain things and channel that money into something else, even if it's just 1% of your changes, even if it's just 1% of your income. He speaks about an aeroplane. If you have an aeroplane that is leaving OR Tambo and it's due to go to KZN Durban, if you just change 1% of the coordinates, as that aeroplane is flying and flying from Joburg for 45 minutes, it no longer flies in a straight line to be able to get to Durban. It now deviates from the straight line because you've changed 1 degree of its coordinates. That aeroplane may even end up in East London. And that's the beauty of atomic habits. Small incremental changes to your financial life today could potentially be magnificent in the financial future. Give it a shot. Tell me how you feel about it.